Yeah, that reminds me of.
I don't know if I have.
For those of you online, we are waiting for Vince to come. He should be here in about 5 minutes. Yeah.
Krista, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can't hear you guys.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Heather, can you hear
Uh,
me?
Barely.
Do you want me to yell louder?
Yes, yell at the top
Okay,
of your
deal.
lungs.
Heather, you can hear me? Mr. Harris, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Sorry,
Why can't
for some reason I kept spinning.
I'm gonna hang up and try to come back in and see if it's better.
Doesn't look like everybody's here yet.
Harris, I can hear you just fine. Krista, can you talk? See if I can hear you. Can't hear me now. Harris, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Keenan, can you hear me?
That's much better. Okay.
Okay.
Harris, go ahead and turn your camera off.
Aye, Captain.
Thanks, buddy. I had to see you too much today.
Can you guys do me a favor? Will you guys take your microphones and turn them on? So the green.
Almost there.
Oh, that's fine. Okay. Like if she's sleeping, I mean.
Do you want your own personalized mic?
I'm over here rebuilding.
Would you like your own personal mic?
Right. Closer.
Speak into the mic.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hey.
Now that I have awe you with my punctuality.
Yeah, so this is
Hi.
very unconvincing.
Yeah, this is, it's every couple of years, show up late to a training, just to remind myself, yes, indeed, I am.
Sorry, I was late, guys.
Please. Hi, Christine.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. Well, no, I'm late. I feel really flustered now. Sorry.
Sure.
So, hi, everybody. My name is Vince Adams. I'm a board development specialist with the Oregon School Boards Association, which is just a fancy way of saying I go around in school boards how to do their work. And one of the things that I get to do every once in a while is to walk with a district and do strategic planning. And that was what your leadership team has done. They brought me alongside. I come to this work after working at Oregon State University for 10 years. I used to work for the Extension Service. I ran a program called the Rural Communities Explorer. If you've done any nonprofit work, you might have heard of it. It's kind of gone by the wayside because what we provided was demographic, social, and economic indicators for all communities in Oregon, including Alsea, Oregon. And we use that to help nonprofits and local governments do strategic planning.
Vince, can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
Should we follow rules and officially call this?
Yeah, you should.
Okay. So at
Yes.
4:27, we'll call this work session to order. Can we start with a flag salute, please? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Does anybody have any adjustments to the agenda? All right, so, all right, we will approve the agenda, and with that, we'll hand it back over to Vince.
Let me resume.
Sorry
Thank you for interrupting me. So I am an extension, so at any point, and this is gonna be a workshop, very much a workshop. This is your work. I'm facilitating, but you all need to be involved and be able to stop, raise your hand, interject. Yeah, so this is a conversation. So there's two things that we want to get done tonight. I want to check in. How long do we have the group?
Till 6:15.
Till 6:15. We're not gonna get done tonight. And that's okay. Because there's one thing about strategic planning is it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And it's way more important to get this work done right than to rush it and get it wrong. Okay? So if there's something that doesn't sit right, or there's something you detect a problem with our process or have an input on our process, yeah, speak up and we can pump the brakes and restructure how this. I'm laid out a structure for this, but we can adjust it based on the group's needs. Okay, so we don't have a lot of time. We only have a couple hours, less than a couple hours. So the two things that I want to get done tonight. First one, I want to go over the results of the community survey. So you guys can see what we got. There are stories to tell. And then after that, we wanted to do what's called, we'll get started on a portrait of a graduate. Anybody who's familiar with portrait of a graduate? I see shaking heads. So portrait of a graduate is a really interesting tool. And essentially what leadership teams do, districts do, is they identify what are those qualities of graduate they want to have when they leave. And it's a way of going from a vision statement. Usually we come up with these very lofty vision statements that often aren't very useful. Portrait of graduate is very, very outcomes based. It's like, what do we want our kids to have when they leave? So we're going to start that work tonight. Won't get done. That's okay. But we'll come back to it in our next session. Okay. Any questions? And I just want to, on behalf of the board and myself, for those educators, thank you for coming and being participating in this, because it's really important. We elect people to school boards, but there's no expectation that anybody on the school board has any expertise, pedagogy or child development or school administration. And K-12 education is a technical job. There's a lot of detail to it. So it's important to have you in the room to support us in doing this work. I learned to do this work on a school board. I'm not an educator. I don't know. It'll be you about that. So, yeah, thank you. Okay, let's dive in. This is really cool. Interesting stories. Probably not a lot of surprises. Okay, community outreach survey. So, in our first session with the board, I asked some prompt questions to the board, and they came up with things that they wanted to know about, superintendent as well. What is it that we need to know from the community? And it was a lot of raw input. I took that, narrowed it down, and turned it into a survey, surveying 4 different constituencies. Students, first and foremost, parents, staff, and then community members, okay? So in the beginning of the survey, there are some demographic questions, and then there was 4 surveys kind of in parallel. And based on, we made them identify who they were. You were staff, you got funneled with a staff set of questions. And then you had a couple open-ended questions, what's going well in the district, and then what could be better at the very end that everybody was exposed to, okay? So that's how it was structured. And it was just SurveyMonkey, so there was a link that was sent out. We got a lot of responses. I didn't pull any summary stats. We got a lot of people.
Oh, good.
You'll see how many people responded. Okay, so 186 people in total. Pretty damn.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wow, pretty decent.
I don't know what the total pop for the census tract that Alcee is in, but this is a pretty close to our representative Sam. Jeez, this is really good response for a community this size.
Everybody.
We made sure every student took it 5 through.
We really see the students. Yeah, it's really cool. Okay, here we go. So we asked them race ethnicity. So it's standard questions, just in trying to get a sense of that. So we've got a few native people. Where's my laser? Oh, you can't see it on there. A few native folks, and then not onesies and twosies in the other groups, and then most people identify as white. And then there was a couple that identified as some. So not a lot of diversity, pretty white, no surprise. Is English your first language? Yeah, 3 people identified out of. So lots of English speakers probably have a handful of LLs maybe. Yeah. Okay. Did you go to Alcee for a summer all of your K-12 education? Wanted to get a sense of how many folks are people that, went through this school. Which is important, particularly in a rural community. Because people have roots here. And the answer is, yeah, over half of people responding have a connection to the school. They're here, connection like they went to school here. Sure.
They said you're hard to hear online.
That's true. I've got a board member on here, so I'm going to walk around with the mic.
Mr. Harris, is that better?
Yeah, that's much better. Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
And if we could share the screen, but I don't know if that we can do that, but
No, sorry.
that's fine.
But I can send you the slide deck.
Oh, thank you. Okay, perfect. Yeah.
I didn't realize that we were going to have people virtual. This is going to be doing some of this portrait of a graduate work might be a little challenging doing it virtual. You might want to rethink that.
Could you send?
We can send the slide deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can take a pause.
Okay.
We're going to send it to Laura and then she can project it. Or
Oh,
can
cool.
you do that? Or can Nathan do
Yeah,
that?
yeah. We can look at it side by side.
Okay.
No worries. Sorry about that.
What? Can you send it to?
I'll do that.
Oh, wait, because then but then we'd have to get it up there. Let me just send it to Laura.
Okay.
It's okay.
I know we did every single. We made sure every.
Well, you notice the number went up on this question, so there was some that skipped, so we're at 191.
Yeah, I mean, I was like.
That's all. So 5 to 12.
Well, isn't this just community? He hasn't gotten to the school.
No, this
yet.
is everybody.
This is everybody.
Oh, including school?
That's Democrat.
Which when we did the last one for integrated guidance, we had like 2 parents.
Oh, perfect.
Yep.
That was representative.
It wasn't, yeah.
The next one.
It was really hard to get like some.
Well,
And we did some parents and we got maybe.
me too.
We literally, I walked in, I was like, do this, and then Catherine
I
had
just sent you-
Okay.
the, all the junior high and high school do it, and I did K 5 through 5, 6.
Okay, so. So the folks, until we get the slides up in the meeting. So what we have is, the question is, did you go to LC for some or all of your K-12 education? We have just over 50% reporting yes and just under 50% reporting no.
If you have Zoom on one laptop, can I be in it on my laptop at the same time?
Just have to make you a host.
Go. Your phone close. Okay, all right. Right.
All right. So let's move on to question. I'm just right here anyway. Because I'm not. Up there. I can't advance my slides. Could do it earlier.
Do you need a clip?
Yeah, well, I have a clicker. I just don't have it there. Here, I'll just bring this up and go boop there. Okay. So the next slide is, how long have you been involved with the ALSI schools? And so we have the majority of folks, just under 50%, is 3 to 7 years. So that's involved in some way. That meaning that, are they a parent? Are they a staff member? Do you have some engagement? Less than 2 years is right around 10%. 8 to 14 years is about 15% or so. 15 plus years was 20. And then we have just a handful of folks who said, I'm not currently involved. So plenty of people involved, but really for a shorter duration of time. Maybe it could be. Here I put the counts on this. What is your role in the school community? Because this is, we wanted to get a sense of who we were hearing from. So 70 students responded. We have 49 parents, 33 staff. Good job, staff. Is that like every warm body in the building?
We have like 46 total in the district, so that's like 75%.
That's great. Great turnout. And then 39 community members responded. So overall, great turnout. I mean, that's for a community this size. These are not unusual numbers at all. Advance. So let's look at student responses. So the first thing we asked them is, what grade are you in? And the 5th grade came out strong.
Yeah. I do. We did 4th graders. I was like, just put your 5th graders. So that's.
Oh, I see.
But the 5th grade is actually our biggest class. We have 22 kids.
Awesome. So yeah, they took it, and then 6th grade, almost, I mean, there was probably one 8th grader and a 10th grader. So, and we have some, probably if we put all the high schoolers together, you know, they'd be probably bigger, but yeah, I was impressed. fifth and fourth grade, they were really involved. And you'll see that reflected in some of the responses. It was really cute, some of the responses. And insightful. I mean, don't discount them. So the next question we asked, the school offers programs and resources that meet my needs and interests. And the vast majority, and these questions were all calibrated to have this answering scheme. So it's a statement, do I agree or disagree to a certain, and I have put it on a 4-point Likert scale, not 5. Now you'll see that there are some areas where I messed up the answers, where I gave them a neutral position, but typically I don't. I want them to take a position one way or the other. So even if they might feel neutral, they're not really neutral. Neutral is usually a place where we answer when we really just don't want to think hard about it, but we really want people to think hard about this. So when pressed, students said yes, over 70%, 75% it looks like, said agree. And then probably about 8% strongly agree. So, the vast majority of students feel that, yeah, the school is providing programs and courses that meet their needs. There was a handful, about 10%, 11% that disagree, and there were just a few strongly disagree. I think I have an amnesty. Oh, wait. Oh, wait, go back. Don't do that. You're giving it away, Vince. There we go. Question 8 is, I feel valued, again, students, I feel valued and treated fairly by teachers and staff. And pretty similar distribution here. Most students agree, approaching 60%, and then just over 20% strongly agree. So, again, the vast majority of kiddos feel like, school is fair and that they're valued. There is a handful, just about 16% that disagree with this statement, and then maybe 1 or 2 that disagreed strongly. And this kind of, I think there's a few more slides, and you'll see the same pattern. And just to give counts here, nope, I went back. I don't want to go back. I want to go forward. And then one more, because I gave the counts. Yeah, so 2. So here are the counts on that distribution. So folks online, the strongly agree, and again, this is, I feel valued and treated fairly by teachers and staff. 14 strongly agree, 38 agree. There were 11 that disagreed and 2 that strongly disagreed.
Sure. What you sent me is protected, so I can't get into it.
Boo.
Right now, your best bet would be to plug into this so that we can share it with the people who are online. And then at some point, send me a non-protected, and then I can email it out.
Here, I'll do it. Can you send me?
It's protected. It's protected, that's why.
What's
He
protected?
sent me a.
The
it's a
thing?
protected-
Oh.
Let's just speak with this.
Yeah.
Bye. Yeah,
We need the music.
don't do that.
That's too high.
Hey, some people work well under pressure. Vince, are you? Yeah.
Am I a pressure person?
Are you a high pressure person?
I'm feeling a lot of pressure right now. Oh no, don't do that.
That's not a good sign.
Don't get me started. This is the OSBA H drive grabbed my thing. Now I have to wait for this to finish figuring out that it can't do its thing. So while I'm doing that, I will just take the time while the computer's working. I'll walk over here and sit with you. There's a little bit of time.
Oh, the death spiraling. That's no bueno.
Yeah. So.
Why don't I send it on the website?
Yeah, on our calendar. Way to go, Joe.
Right?
It's all good.
I don't need the slides right now. I just was wanted to hear about more than anything.
Nice to be able to see the data.
Yeah, because having me describe the data. Like that. Go back. Okay, plugging back in for the room.
Wait, get out of there. I can't possibly. I can't.
And I'm on slide, I'm going to slide 12, Laura.
You did get.
There we go.
I was like, I need ice.
I feel valued, wonderful, okay. And then does my remote work again? It does, wonderful. Oh, that's so much better.
He's doing this.
Teachers and staff, and then we just went over this data. Okay, question 9 for students. I mean, they're all numbered, but this is the next one for students. The school communicates effectively with me about my progress and opportunities for growth. So this is how the school. Yes, it's the community housing producer, yes. This is how you, staff, are communicating with kiddos, how they feel about that. And this is one where I goofed up and I gave them that middle ground. Should've. I really wish we could do that. And I wonder if more would push up. But the majority, I mean, over 50% are agree or strongly agree. And then there's that 30% that are kind of like, you know, and then we have 10% that say disagree, and then just a couple.
Is there any way you broke it down by grade level, right? Is there any way to break down responses by grade level?
The only problem would be is if it's less than 10, couldn't. And so I think there's 2 grades
Yeah.
that would have that.
Okay,
We could probably do like 5, 6, 7.
is that information that you can share with Krista?
Technically, I can, yes, I can.
That would be good to know.
Yeah, I agree.
So yes, individual second, we can look at individual respondents.
And if it can't be shared publicly, then I think it would still be valuable information for us moving forward.
I think at this level, and this is how educators are communicating with kiddos, it's really operational. So I think I feel comfortable, and so you already said it, I'll ask you. Since they were branded great guidance and courses.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to, but then if you want to package that, I will share with the board. Okay,
I just think it would be good
I-
for you to know.
I am on
At what
question
staff
number, or
work with.
slide 12.
I like slide 12 and like that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's what my slide 12 looks like.
Keep going. That's the next one.
Oh, that-
There we go.
There you go. It's, nope.
That's
The
his
one before
graduation. The
it.
other one says growth.
Go back, you're on U11,
I should go back.
So go ahead.
like 11, 10. Go to
That's
slide,
right.
go to slide 10.
Yeah, and the reason why it doesn't look the same
Oh,
is
I've
because
got
you're not,
this table
you're
in
not
front.
presenting. So just go ahead and present.
I don't want to present.
Okay,
You're
fine.
presenting.
Okay, so then these are the counts. 9 strongly agree, 30 agree, 21 in that middle ground. 7 disagree and 2, so only 9 is. Okay. So question 10, the school provides support I need to succeed academically and graduate. And interestingly, this is across all grade levels. So I would say this is a really strong positive response. This looks really good to me. Yeah, the majority of kids are like, yeah.
And we
break that down by?
Could, I did not. But we could. So you guys are gonna, the superintendent will get this data, and then you guys can clear it. Rules and policies at my school are fair and consistently applied. See how they're all held. Okay. This is a theme that kind of, you'll see this throughout across all respondents. Okay, so parents. See what they said. Which grade levels are your children currently attending? And of course, select all that apply to kiddos, right? So just, and so there's not really a node here. I mean, maybe fifth grade, but there's a whole bunch. So we're capturing almost all the grades except for kinders and first grade. I don't know. Why? You're too busy chasing kids. To respond to the survey.
Yeah, and no small.
There's no what?
No senior year.
And no senior parents.
Well, and did this question allow if you had multiple kids in each grade?
Yes.
Oh, I couldn't remember.
12. Yeah. 9 and 12. So,
Oh, yeah, so
but I mean,
reading.
pretty flat overall. We're not seeing a spike anywhere, which is, I mean, I'd say that's good. So we're getting a good cross section. Oh, I'm sorry. So yeah, just to reiterate, which grade levels are reporting? So we have a graph here that shows all the grades, and the parents could click any grade where the kids are attending. So if I have 3 kids, I have a second grader, a fifth grader, and an eighth grader, I could click, those grades, corresponding grades. And what we're seeing is that parents of kinders and first graders, we didn't see a lot of response, and we saw no response from 12th graders. But from second to 11th grade, it's pretty much flat, right around, hovering between 10 and 20%. Okay, so now we have a sense of who's talking to us. The school district offers programs and opportunities that meet my child's needs. And so in this one, we have a whole bunch that are saying that they agree. 66%, 67%. We have a small handful that strongly agree. So the preponderance of folks, I mean, right around 70% are definitely agreeing here. We have about 20% that are disagreeing, and then there were some that said other, and I added that other intentionally because I wanted to get a little feedback from them. And here are the themes that popped up in that other. These are actually 3 there was just a handful of responses here, but yeah, gaps in programs for younger students. Any surprises in the room here? Is anybody astonished by that? Okay. Yeah, community members are monitoring programs and quality before deciding on enrollment. And need for non-sports activities. So it's really based on program variety, program availability. And that's something I've been hearing from the board, ever since I've been working up here. Okay. Question 14, all students in the district are valued and treated equitably. So we have 55% saying they agree, about 19% strongly agree. So we're right around that 70 to 75% mark, for strongly agree. We have about 20% that disagree, and then we have just a few, probably 2 or 3 parents that are saying strongly disagree. So we asked a question about how can LC schools better communicate and involve you in school activities. So this was something that came out of discussion with the board. They had questions about this, and so it was an open-ended response. And so these are the themes that came up. The first was consistent and accurate in communication. Just another thing that came up here was timeliness of communication, communicating early was a theme that came out of here. But ensuring, calendars are clear and consistent, and notifying stakeholders and partners properly about changes. Using lots of communication channels. And this is a theme that we're seeing across the state, that, you know, email, you can't just do social media, you can't just do email, you can't just do text message. It's got to be everything. It's like everything, even the flyer in the backpack, everything, all channels to communicate stuff out, which means more burden on you guys to fill that need. But I wasn't surprised by this. Timeliness, I mentioned that. Tailored communication for family dynamics. So this is probably a niche theme here for a few families, but folks that have non-traditional family structures, making sure that we're communicating in ways that work for those folks that maybe mom and dad are not in the same household. And then enhanced teacher communication. Encourage the use of tools like the Remind app to keep parents informed about classroom specific stuff. So parents want to be able to know what's going on with their kid in the classroom. As a parent, I can echo that. I like that. Okay. Question 16. I am confident in the district's ability to support student success and adapt to changes in education. So this is really speaking directly to the strategic planning process. And the majority of parents say yes. Yeah, 66%. And then another maybe 5% strongly agree with this statement. So, you know, easily 70% are, you know, feel confident that the district can serve them and their kids. There's about 25%, a quarter of parents that responded that disagree. And then there was just one or two that strongly disagreed with this statement. Question 17, the district ensures that staff demonstrate professionalism and accountability. So this is really trying to get at how parents are interacting with all of you and what they're perceiving. And, you know, again, the majority are positive here. I mean, there's approaching 60% agree, about 7% strongly agree. So we're definitely approaching that 70% mark. There were just shy of 30% that disagreed. Okay, and then there was a handful of strongly disagrees. Okay. So staff, that great response from staff. So the district provides programs and opportunities that significantly impact student success. I was really pleased to see that there were no strongly disagrees here. And there was 20% that disagreed with this statement, that, you know, maybe that there were some programs that we might want to add in, but the vast majority of you guys are supportive, thinks that you can significantly impact student success. And I mean, we know that total teacher efficacy is the first predictor of student outcomes. You got to believe that you can impact kids. If you don't believe it, then it's not going to happen. What I'm seeing is that the majority of educators here do believe that they can have an impact. Question 19, I feel supported and valued in my role within the district. I'm just going to let this hang here. Yeah, over 30% disagreed, and then we had a couple strongly disagree. Even with that, we have about 16% strongly agreeing and about 46% agreeing. It's probably not the result that you wanted, but this looks like an area for growth. Question 20, district has adequate systems and structures to address student behavior. And this is really trying to get at what's been going on since we've come back out of the pandemic. We've seen a lot of tough behaviors in kiddos, and just making, do educators feel safe in the classroom? Okay. So are we able to address these? No strongly agrees. Kids are squirrely. I mean, it's the one, and I mean, you guys aren't unique. It's all over the place. All the kids are squirrely. So yeah, we got 60 that agree, but there's a bunch that disagree. We have 34% or so that are not feeling like we have adequate systems to address student behaviors. And we have that small slice that are strongly disagree. So this is another area where I don't think it's, unique to this district. It's not like your problem only. I think it's across education in the United States. We got work to do about building systems to support our kids so that they can have behaviors where they can learn. Question 21, policies are applied consistently across the district. No strongly disagrees here. And I mean, I'm not going to be agnostic to the recent history for this district. You guys have gone through some tough stuff. And I was fully expecting some strongly agrees on this, and they're not there. So, I mean, that's a testament to the leadership team's work in these recent years. Now, there still is 34% that are disagreeing here, that are not where they want to be. That there's some inconsistency, but I mean, we're in the agree, we're just over 60%, and then we've got just a couple of strongly agrees. So,
Hey Vince, I have a question. Can I just interrupt? Is that okay?
yeah, please do.
So like with this question here, this is the perception of a person, correct? Or is this term admin? I mean, do you know what I'm saying? Like as an employee, I wouldn't always know how somebody else is held accountable, correct?
Not necessarily. So
So,
this
well,
is subjective question.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, so this is, as an employee of the district, do I feel that policies are applied consistently? It's my gut check. So I would say this is a cultural measure.
Don't want to say it.
Yeah, jump in.
Well, my thought too was the same thing. It's a pretty subjective question. And then my next question would be, which policies? Are we talking about student policies, staff policies, which policies? So though we have an agree, we really don't know what we're agreeing on, is how I feel that question is answered.
Yeah, and this is the problem with surveys, is as soon as you start asking questions and getting answers, more questions come up. So that's great. Hang on to that question, because that can be work that you guys can do down the road. Okay. And you'll want to maybe pull some of these questions out and ask them longitudinally over the next few years. So if, staff sentiment around application of policy, whatever that is, and maybe in a variety of dimensions, is a strategic priority for this group or for this district, then that's something that you'll want to track going forward. Question 22, the district develops and retains high quality staff and leaders. No strongly agrees here, which kind of hurt my heart a little bit. So, yeah, but there is approaching 50% that agreed, and then there is an equivalent amount that disagreed, and then some strongly disagrees. So,
After a big rift, was it last year?
yeah.
Year before. Still fresh.
So yeah, this could be reflective of trauma from that. I mean, because rifts are always reductions in force, for those on the call that don't speak educationese. Yeah, that's reductions of force are always traumatic. Okay. But retention, I think retention is a challenge, in all districts. Even in the big ones, then in desirable communities, they're struggling to get folks too. So people are leaving the industry because it's hard. Okay. So, and it's going to be especially hard out here because you're a small remote district. All right. Community responses. I have some mea culpas in this one. So question 23, this one's done right. The district values and priorities align with the needs of our community. Not bad. I mean, all things considered, considering recent history for the district, I mean, there's a lot that people could be angry about. And I mean, just under 50% agree. We've got just under 10% strongly agreeing. There are 30% that are like disagree, and about 11%, 12% that strongly disagree. So does this kind of square up with your perception of, does this meet the gut check?
Hey
Or
Vince, I
your
got a question
experience?
on this one. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
When we asked
Yeah.
the community question, did we ask that of the Alsea proper community or did we ask that of the Alsea Charter District community? Because those kids are outside of Alsea proper. Some of them are. So when we sent this out, did we give that specification?
We did not. This was just sent out to whoever wanted to take it.
Okay. Okay. I was just curious. Thank you.
Yeah,
Because I
good
think
question.
Us, I'll be honest with you. I mean, when I look at this question, people think as our community is just the Alsea community, but we're a charter district. So our community extends to Monroe and to Corvallis and to Waldport. And so I think one of the things, and this is just my opinion, is we need to get out of the mindset that the community is here and really embrace all of our kids. We have kids who also are online, who go from Ontario and Portland. And so, I mean, community, I think it's really important for us to really be able, I think, if we want to be a charter, to define what our community is.
Be interesting to break that down between, because most of the charter students and parents would have answered as parents, how many people in communities outside of LC would say, I'm just a community.
So that could be,
That would be a question.
that could be more information we could get, like as a parent, send it out, like, where do you live?
Yeah.
Answer as something other than a parent or a student, where are you at?
Yeah. So I think that's interesting when we talk about community, that is a mind shift for us. So, and I mean, that's just my perception as somebody who's been here for a year and a half.
So, question, I guess, Superintendent, how have you done surveying like this previously?
I will tell you the other surveys for integrated guidance, I didn't do. So that's why when you put up how many people did it, that's why our jaws dropped, because when we did integrated guidance, we only had 2 parents do it. And I don't think we got very many community members. So this was a great, I just think maybe we could go back as we work through the priorities and maybe do a little bit more, like, do you live in Alsea? Do you live in Corvallis? Do you live in Philomath? Things like that.
Yeah, so there'll be another opportunity to do a check-in. So we're gonna do a planning process, come up with priorities. But we'll want to do a check-in with community. It's like, we
Yeah.
came up with these priorities in a closed room, and does this make sense to you? This is aligned to what you heard from us before. And we can ask some additional questions at that time, get some additional information from them. Okay. Question 24, district communicates effectively with families and the broader community. Yeah, the distribution is really bifurcated here, which is to say it's kind of just split in 2. Yeah, we have kind of equal amounts of agree, disagree, and strongly agree and strongly disagree, with a little more weight on the disagree side. So yeah, there could be some communication with community, and I don't think that's a surprise.
You know, when this kind of they have access to student data to outreach. How do they get the community member that doesn't have a student in the system other than Facebook, email, or not Facebook or like Valley Voice? I mean, how? How do we do that?
I don't have a good answer for that.
Because they don't have, say, my mom. She doesn't have a kid in the system.
Right.
They don't know how to get her email address to communicate with her. So just a thought.
Yeah.
Can I add to that, Jamie? Because I think you're making a really good point. I think the other thing I would add to that to think about when we look at a check-in is how are they engaging with us? And I'm not trying to put onus on everybody except for the district. That's not my point. But my point also is, are we getting the information out where they can see it and get to it? But their expectation is that it ends up in their mailbox. You know what I mean? What are they expecting? Do they want it hand delivered or do they want to engage back to find the information?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, yeah, like.
But I think
what
this is
information do they
this
want?
is a good thought process because communication can always be better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It
don't,
does take effort to find it.
Yeah.
yeah, there isn't a district in the state that is knocking it out of the park on community engagement. It's just everybody, that's a growth area.
Hey, I want to add in something for Learn at Home. Our class dojo has seen amazing amount of growth in communication and quick communication with families. And we're really proud of what's happening on Class Dojo. They post pictures and everything, you know, there's so much communication there. So it's something that we're very proud of.
Give you some lessons to learn there.
We're just
Okay.
learning it really this year.
Where was
But
I?
yeah.
Okay. Question 25, the district effectively engages with community to support student success. So I'm not sure, does this add up to 20%? How does this work? Oh no, that's right. This is the one with the messed up data. Ah, this is the one where Krista, that's why I'm going, what is this? Why does this data weird? That's because I screwed up the question. So I don't think we can say anything about this. So when we go back out, this is a question that we want to look at. And I think this is another one, I think, where the data is wonky. But the question was, the district offers programs and opportunities, making it a destination for families. But we could tell from the parent responses, we can kind of predict what the responses here would be.
So I got an email from a community member that said the answers were like mental health. But it was interesting because when I emailed him and said, do you know these questions are off? He said, no, but you already had 26 people take it and already only one person
Yeah.
has already told you. So these could be questions we could resend back out.
Yeah, we'll go back out with these. This one I did not mess up. I'm confident in the district's ability to pursue the right strategic direction for education. And this can be a little tough. Yeah, so just over 40% agree. These are community responses. So, I mean, while this is really discouraging, the only way you're going to fix this is by walking the walk. There's just there's no other way to get around
This is
this.
a reflection of the last few years.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've been through the ringer over and over, and so I'm sure there are many that are like,
Building trust.
yeah, it's gonna take a
And
long time.
respect.
Absolutely.
And you're gonna have to throw all the things that we do and make it more public
Yep.
and more in your face and more,
And get the community.
yeah, more shiny so people pay attention to it.
Vince, does it make a difference when I'm looking at it? It says 14 answered and 177 skipped. So this is
It's a
only a
small-
reflection of 14 people's opinion.
That is correct. That's what, half.
Half the community.
Half of
members, 'cause
them.
There was 28, yeah.
So
I would
only
say
half-
also on this one, just devil's advocate, while it is maybe a hard pill to swallow on the strongly disagree, I also would appreciate that people are engaging and saying that and being honest in that response.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm more afraid when people are quietly like disengaged in the background and unhappy, because then we don't even have an opportunity to know where to fix something.
I will say that in listening to a few of the older community members that didn't participate in this, it's like because of so much stuff that's gone on, they feel that they don't have a voice at all and nothing's going to change.
So yeah, pushing out into community, it sounds like what I'm hearing there. Okay, let's not dwell on that. So let's look at some themes. So everybody had an opportunity to respond to these questions. The first one, what's going well in the LC school district and should be built on or continued? So converse to what we heard is, and I'm sorry, it's hard to read, but again, you'll get these slides. It's consistency and implementation of policies. So establishing and implementing consistent, equitable policies mentioned as a major strength. And these are in order of frequency as they showed up. So the top left, so left to right and down. So the one in gray is the least. The one in the darkest green was the most frequent. So while, you know, there was people reported that there has been inconsistency in application of policies. They're recognizing in the open-ended responses that that's something that is happening and is a strength and should be continued. Okay?
Asked as improvement in outreach programs, whereas before, like one of the questions said that we didn't do it enough, but now they're saying that we are improving. So they're recognizing that we are getting better, but
Yeah.
it's not where their standard is at.
Small class size, of course, is always going to be a competitive strength for the school. Sport and student accountability. This is like sports programs, but ensuring that there's accountability for behavior, grades, and you know, being responsible and showing up. You talked about outreach programs. That, you know, this is a work in progress, but that they're noticing that there are improvements. Um, uh, After school programs, the appreciation for programs like art shop, cooking, are for great and maximize their impact. This is one of our student responses. Specific mention of lunch and recess as positive elements of the student experience. So multiple, there were multiple responses. I like lunch and recess. Student well-being, observations that students are generally happy, well adjusted, reflecting a positive overall school climate. Good job, team. Accountability, staff accountability is seen as important contributor to the district's progress. So kudos. The work that you guys have been doing recently shows up. People are seeing it. And then a call for CTE. Okay. Or supporting CTE. I should have ended on this, but this is what's going well. This is what the areas for growth. So not a lot of surprise, not a big surprise on this first one. Improved teamwork and employee value, better teamwork, and just continuing the work of getting staff to feel comfortable being here. Enhanced communication, we heard that throughout. Student support services need stronger special education services, counseling, skills trainers. Yeah, everybody needs that. But I'm sure that you guys, I mean, because you're so small, it's hard to get those services out of here. Transportation, there was a few mentions of buses and transportation. I see nodding heads, so recognition of that. There was lingering frustration over bond issues. So there was, you know, just struggles with the bond process and just some heartburn after that. I don't know what to do about that other than just keep doing. Yeah, that, you know, you guys had a tough process. You hired a new superintendent. She came in, cleaned up and finished the project. So you just got to do what you got to do. Yeah, general comments about the need for better teachers and staff, reflecting potential concerns about hiring training. So that thing about recruitment and retention, and then a specific request for younger boys to allow freedom during recess, such as playing tag. Yes, this wasn't.
So yeah, so fifth grade students. No, and sixth grade. They're all out there at the same time.
Okay, so let's take some time to unpack this. Well, so what feedback or observations from the survey result? What stood out to you?
Me personally, I see our focus needs to be on continuing to support Krista in creating a more supportive culture with her staff. And we need to work harder in engaging with people outside of our school community, parents, teachers, students, and really try to reach out deeper.
I have some ideas for that.
Awesome.
And they're
I would-
super excited either.
Yeah, jump in online.
I was gonna say I would say that none of this surprises me, which is actually really exciting. Nobody like there's nothing that got brought up here that from my perspective as a board member isn't something that we recognize and have been working on and exactly what we wanted to do here. So I kind of like that there's not a huge surprise in this feedback.
Good.
Agreed.
What else?
Way they're doing doing that, it'd be nice if we could create a partnership with them.
Well, we do have a lot of industry specific knowledge in our community. And I know some have a desire to give back, so if we could find a way. I know that there are grandparents that have shown interest in becoming a volunteer to sit and read or do math with students. I don't know what what's holding them back from that, but definitely.
From our little corner of the school, I just started wondering how we can be helpful for the program, right? Thought maybe I think we have things to offer, but I'm not really sure what yet. But how can we help out with that?
If you look.
Yeah, like career days.
J-term isn't necessarily a popular thing all the time, but that was the unique opportunity for that to shine.
I think for me, one of the big pieces would come out is we do not just one or two people, but as a staff, we need to get outside the box. I think it's easy to come in and say, I only work from this time to this time. But I think in a small town, especially if we want to bring people in, it takes us all. The hard part in thinking out, because I've thought of this, is I've had teachers go, I'm not from here and I don't really know what to do. And the hard part for me is I'm not from here either. And I can only reach out so much. I think in a small school, when we talk about retention, there's a lot of people, and I've had people say, that Elsie's just the stepping stone. And we know, Vince, we've talked about it in our board meetings, we've talked about it, is that consistency leads to student achievement.
Right.
And so I think, how do we, what stands out to me in the previous one is, how do you hire and retain staff? Because a lot of people do see small districts, and it's not just an LC thing. As a place where you come and you get your 2 years in and you wet your feet, and then you can go to a bigger district that pays more money, or that, might have the smaller or might have a bigger class size, but you have the counselors. And some of that pieces comes down to is, how do we choose to spend our money? Because I would love to have a counselor, but we can't afford it.
Right.
Well, I know historically, the district has been very generous in supporting staff with education to then waltz them right out the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that's, yeah.
But it hits hard.
Yeah.
In a tiny school.
Well, and I think too, when you look at, when we talk about retaining staff, like I said, and it's not just teachers, it's admin. But that is a small, why would I drive 30 minutes from my home when I can get a job what fits my family better, that's a mile from my home?
Think about those orange ones, where one of them was about the staff feel comfortable and, and make them feel super comfortable. They're more likely to stick around and, well, I can take this higher paying job closer to home, but I sure do like it now. So,
Yeah, and I think that's the piece is,
then the like here, that other stuff is less important.
well,
Stay relatively competitive.
yeah, well, and I speaking from somebody who does drive, do I see this being somebody, and I know that we have teachers who drive actually longer than me. That does wear on. But it's like, how do you do that retaining? Because I don't disagree. I think it's important to have a culture where people want to be here and not have to be here. But I also go back to the student support services. That's not something, we also have to look within our budget. It's not something we can add because of money. that's where I think it's important to us to have, like, it's a give and take. In fact, I had a conversation with a kid today and he's like, well, scheduling is like a give and take. Well, for us, it's the same. What do we want? And what do we have to give up for that piece? And sometimes, I think when we talk about retaining high staff, that again is a give and take, because I've had people, and I will tell you, we've had conversations where like, well, we'll do this, but what gets them to stay? We can get all these certifications, but what gets them to stay? And I don't disagree with you. It is that comfort level.
And I think maybe the community action committee getting going and trying to work from a county level on creating some more opportunities for housing, getting you guys an affordable place where you can become a part of the physical boundaries of the town. So you don't have to travel so far, because that's not attainable right now.
Well, because I was thinking about, because we're talking about this in other ones, I had been asked, how many of your staff do travel? And I was thinking, well, a majority like of the classified staff live in this area. But if you look at the teachers, 2 live in the Alsea area.
What's that comment back? Hold on.
I think there's a couple of things to say. First of all, the way the working world is now, people have to bounce jobs if they want to make it anywhere. That's the reality, and it sucks. So making sure we can stay as competitive as possible is important. But also, I believe in leaving people in places better than when we found them. So when you go to work, you want people to leave work with a smile on their face. If they're like, time's ticking, I don't want to be here anymore, I'm feeling uncomfortable, I don't know what I'm going to have to deal with, am I secure in my job, then there's a lot more itching for that door. And so creating a space where all the employees feel that there's no mark on them, that they're doing what they need to do, they're getting that feedback. And also, the training. Hey, it looks like you're really interested in doing this. Or another thing too is asking employees or teachers, what do you really like to do? What would you like to see happen in the school? What's a skill you can bring that we don't know about? Because we have some fantastic and amazing staff, and I think we could utilize them a lot better.
Keep us moving. So how did the survey responses make you feel about the current state of the district? What was that feeling at that point?
Expected.
It's what?
I mean, the survey responses, I was not surprised by them. That would be what I would expect after what we've, the last few years have been. I think we're on the trajectory of getting better, but when it takes so many years to get undone, it's going to take time to get back, which is where this meeting comes in handy.
How about online, folks? How did you feel while looking at this data?
There's Joe.
So there's a couple areas that I feel like, obviously we can improve in, but being in other districts where looking at this typical or this similar type of data, definitely I feel like there's a trajectory. If we could plot this, I think a couple of the questions could have probably been split into 2, but the subjectivity of it is fine because that's what we want to hear. I think we have some work to do, but I don't know. I just feel like that we have a positive trajectory.
Thanks, Joe. Anybody else online? Make sure that we're not excluding it.
Hey, I'll pop in. One thing that really stood out to me was that people feel strong that we are following policies now, right? And that's something as an employee that makes me feel really comfortable. So I feel like as we are righting the ship, and Krista has done an incredible job in terms of adhering, making sure the policies are right out there, out in front of everyone and everyone can feel safe with that we're righting the ship, we're doing things the correct way. And it's going to take time, but that is a huge piece that really stood out to me that in the data that came back. The other thing that I want to mention really quickly about culture, I'm biased, but my husband did his doctoral dissertation on how to retain teachers. And the biggest thing out of all of his research was it's not money, it is support. And we kind of touched on that. I heard discussion about that. So do teachers feel supported? I don't know who just spoke just a few minutes ago in regards to that, but do teachers feel supported? And what I'm noticing this year, our PLC work where we are bringing the Learn at Home teachers, the online teachers together with the brick and mortar teachers, we're just starting off with that, but I'm already noticing that people appreciate that they have a team member that they can talk to and that they can access. So I'm hopeful, for years to come that we stay on that trajectory, both of those things. And that's it.
Cool that you guys implemented PLCs this year.
Yeah.
It's huge. Really big.
I feel like if
Yeah.
our community took this, all of us took this survey 3 years ago.
Oh, the numbers would be awful.
So that fact, and along with what Christine said, that not surprised because we knew we had work to do. We
Mhm.
were dead in the water. There's no trust, no respect, no confidence, nothing. So the fact that we have people in the agree and the strongly agree, I take that as a win.
Right.
So
Hey, Russ. See ya. Okay. So what do these responses suggest about your strengths and areas of improvement? We've been kind of talking about this
Mhm.
throughout. What are some areas of strength? We've been talking about areas of growth. We naturally gravitate in when we talk. But what are some areas of strength for you folks?
I think we have phenomenal staff that really care about the students and each other. I've seen that. It really does feel like a family. I think a lot of us would agree with that. With the kids and with the students and with the parents. And you can't get that anywhere. And I think that's what keeps lots of us.
I think everybody's focused on students. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that main focus is our strongest.
Well, and I think, after after the years, I think we have to remember it is about the kids and decisions have to be made, not what's best for the adults, but what's best for kids. And I think we're getting to that strength right now.
Way better than it was.
So much better. So much better.
Yeah, it was real staff focused for a while there. And now it's getting back to the kids, which is ultimately why we're here. Is to provide the next generation with the education to set them up for success.
Any other thoughts on this one?
I'll say I think Krista has great skill in making sure that our policies are 100% to the T legal people. We do not make a step forward if it's not the right thing to do.
That warms my OSBA heart.
Thank God for OSBA.
And all those attorneys know that.
So this is kind of the what's next, but it's really prioritizing. What are those hot button issues? What do we need to take out of this and ensure that it goes into our planning process?
I think staff retention, staff hiring, ensuring that our staff is growing and that we are not. And when I talk about all staff, I talk about all staff from admin down to bus drivers, to teachers, to everybody. But I think it has to be one that we have to be willing, not that, this is my 21st year in education. I still have more to go. It doesn't matter how long you're in education, we still need to have the culture that we can improve and that we want to improve. Because if we're just here because, we've done it, then we're never going to move forward. We all have to have the want to continue to be better, not for ourselves, but for the kids.
Growth mindset.
Way finances going and the economy and the world. It's gonna take all of us to wear different hats to really focus and get each and every one of these students that they need, because we can't have one person that does every single thing. And I hope we can reach out and glean from our community support in that in some way.
Well, and as somebody who is continuing their education to become a teacher, it was very scary when my advisor looked me right in the eye and said, "Are you sure this is what you want to do?"
Mhm.
I am like, okay, I'm 37 years old and you're asking me that, and that scared me. So when you're asking an 18-year-old or a 20-year-old when they're coming in, is this something that you really want to do? That doesn't shine bright on education at all, you know? And so I think just keeping that morale up and making sure when we are out in the community wearing our ALSI gear, sometimes I leave my lanyard on. It's literally a part of me these days. And I just took it off because it kept hitting the table. But I forget I have it on. And they'll be like, "Oh, what do you do out there?" And just maintain, like, even if you had a bad day,
Yep.
to maintain that this is a healthy, safe environment for staff and students.
The
So-
one comment that still sticks out to me, I'm thinking about it as you're talking, is the one about the community is watching and evaluating to see even if they want their kids to be in this environment.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we as a whole have to remember, because even small comments, I think, you know, like Chelsea said, even if you're having a bad day, those comments, I think, especially in this community, get taken to heart sometimes if people hear that. You know, one of the things, and I love my job. I think I picked the best career. Are there days I despise it? Oh God, yes. But in the end, I can say I love what I do. I think that's a lot like parenting, right? You love your children. There are days you don't really like them. And I think that's that piece, right? And I think that one of the pieces we really do have to create a culture is not the culture. I don't disagree, you know, possibly, you know, from the top down, but the culture actually is really about how everybody reacts from top to bottom.
Let me say that. Okay.
Yes.
I visited Ashbrook Independent School this week. Just up in Plymouth, you know, what's that? Private school. And I was excited about learning. Like, I gotta tell you, we went just for curiosity, but the koi pond, the garden beds, everything going on, the arts, the theater. It was interesting to me that, I mean, we have little kids, right? We're thinking about what do we offer here? What is offered at other places? I think as a community, we're all looking for the best education for our kids. None of us want to drive over the hill. I don't. I mean, our kids are 2 and 8 months, right? And we have kids in the school. But what I realize is there's this passion of learning in some schools that it's not in all schools. I think we're going to get there as a school. But I think we have to harness this energy in this passion of learning, this exceptional part of learning, not the everyday, not the math and the English, but I focus on that a lot, like reading in our school. Like, we need to read better, but it also has to be this excitement that the community's behind, that they're like, hey, I want to put my kids here because, you know, there's something good happening.
Well, and I think that you saw that, right? In some of the comments,
Right.
it said, we want more than just sport. Pamela has a question. Or a comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what my thought when you talk about the community. There are so many families that live here that do not send their children here. Why?
Right.
Why isn't somebody forming a committee to find out what that answer is? Why are they driving their kids? And I understand they have a choice to go where they want, but their tax dollars are paying for school here. Why are they sending their kids elsewhere?
And it's interesting to me that Ashbrook doesn't have athletics at all. We have athletics, but we don't have a lot of arts. I think the balance is in helping kids find what they want in a school that they're close to home. Having all of it, but it's really hard in a school with a small, you know, what we have 238 kids, 235 kids. It's hard to find all that balance, but we can find it. It just has to be a little bit of what you said. The staff has to be focused on educating our children and making it an exceptional experience, not just the normal experience.
Well, and I think it's interesting too, is so we did a study. Half of the students come from our district and the other half come out. It would also be interesting to hear why the other half come here.
What maybe we don't know something, you know, I mean, right, Laura, it was about a 50-50
Yeah,
split, wasn't
well-
it? Yeah.
So getting at people's why,
Mhm.
which kind of leads into one of the things that popped out to me, which is communication. It's a theme that we saw.
Mhm.
So an area that you should probably prioritize on is enhancing. I know that you've improved communication, but really trying to figure out how to take that to the next level and reaching those people that you haven't reached already. Kind of to your point. It's like, who are we missing? Who are we not hearing from?
Well, cause there's many families around here that homeschool or this and there's a chunk down the hill. Why? What is it that we need to offer for them to come here, to make their children feel safe and that they're getting an education? Like, I don't understand why there's not a committee, like going door to door and asking these questions. Cause it's a huge amount of children.
Well, as a parent, I can speak to the fact that, the only thing that made me comfortable sending my student out here when I lived on the other side of the hill was knowing that I had family that could be here in a matter of minutes if there was a need, if there was an illness, if there was an injury. I knew that I had somebody in town right across the street that could be here for my child. Otherwise, I would be taking my kid, like right now, I would be taking my kids over the hill to know that I could be there for them in a timely fashion, because it's 25-30 minutes to work from home. It's more than that, but, I rely on family to make
I have to
that put
balance
me at
it.
peace.
I'm gonna balance it with the first good. Because we have a daughter graduating this year. We have a middle schooler.
She
Middle
will.
She will.
schooler and-
We already
and
talked
an
about it.
elementary. Let me tell you what I'm thinking. With a 2-year-old at home and me. I'm thinking about how do I give my children everything they need to go in whatever direction they want to go? Can I do that at Allison? Or can I not? I know Adam and Shen very well. They homeschool. Leslie, I know very well. Her husband is a professor at my daughter at OSU. They homeschool. There's lots of, we have a new family, Rachel and Benjamin, that homeschool. They were just at our house. I look at it as two things. People either homeschool because they're afraid of indoctrination in the public school, or they homeschool because they're unaware of what the public school can offer that their children can't get at home, right? I mean, because to me, homeschooling is not a great resource for my kids because they don't have socialization, they don't have activities, they don't have sports, they don't have things that I think kids need. But as a parent who thinks maybe I believe ideologically differently than the state tells me to believe, I feel like maybe keeping them home is more important in protecting them from whatever's happening in the public school system. So I think there needs to be a transparent, like, philosophy of education, right? So the parents who feel like they want to homeschool to protect their kids know that at school they're not being exposed to these things we think we need to protect them from. And the parents who homeschool that realize there's like these weaknesses in homeschooling where my kids aren't getting the socialization, they're not getting the arts, they're not getting the, activities that I wish they could have. They feel safe in sending them to school where they're getting all of it, right? I think Elsie lacks in two places. One, our academics have been, part of subpar over the years. We need to build that up. Our activities are limited in some places. We do well in athletics for the most part for a small school. We do really poorly for the arts, right? One thing that stood out to me is I went to this little private school that has a 400-person theater, right? And I'm thinking, how do they do this? How do they have a theater with like plays and all this stuff? And they're building backdrops. So for a certain student that's not into athletics, that's hugely appealing, right? But it's $15,000 a year per student. Most families can't afford that. So how do we offer all of this in a small public rural school where our budgets are tight, our teachers aren't always loyal? We want loyal teachers. We have to build a philosophy of trust between the community and the education system, which is we're not going to teach your kids things that you don't want them to know, or we're going to give them things they can't get at home. Because I have the same question. I could never homeschool my kids. My wife and I have talked about it. We just can't do it, right? We don't have the bandwidth. But after COVID, a lot of families feel like this is about, hey, they're getting paid. I didn't know this. I didn't know these families are getting paid per kid to be homeschooled. Did you know this? $1,600 a semester. I had no idea.
Is that through
I
a
had
certain,
no idea.
is that through a certain program? Or is that something
I'm
the state
digging
is
into
doing?
that, but it's actually a funded thing. That A parent can get $1,600
Yeah.
per kid to homeschool them per semester.
That covers
Well,
field trips and materials.
Right, but the
And where does that
idea.
funding come from?
There's,
Exactly, right? This is brand new to me, like 30 days ago.
Yeah.
So,
I think what happens
You
is some of them
practice, right?
market themselves as public charter schools, you know, online. And then they're able, whatever they would get for the classroom student, instead they're able to, or, you know, how many teachers, they take that money and it goes,
Well, I know there was a big movement. I didn't know if
There
it
was.
passed or not.
Right,
Yeah.
but the question is
About the
this,
money
right?
following the students.
yeah,
Think
oh,
about
okay.
this.
Yeah.
so
If you-
I
Go
want to
ahead.
bring
Sorry.
this back up to the strategic level because we're like down and.
Sorry.
Can I add something? Can I just
Yeah,
add
this
something
is
really
where the-
quick?
Yeah.
Vince? Because it actually fits to what Russ is kind of sharing, but also it goes back to that communication. While I hear things here, the other thing I'm thinking is some of the statements are very pigeonholed to parents, and we're trying to put a kid in a slot, and that's exactly what we probably shouldn't be doing, or in my
Right.
opinion, we shouldn't be doing. And so in that communication, we also have to be able to hear the feedback and accept it as that's an okay thing. Each of these parents has absolutely every right to do what they feel is best for their student and their families. And we have to be okay with that answer sometimes, whether that's they go to Philomath or they go to the coast or they homeschool, whatever that might be. I don't want to hear somebody and then put them into a little slot over here. Like, okay, well, we know they're doing that, so we just won't check back in, or you know what I mean?
Well, and I do want to say, I know that Sarah, last year I had her call every single person on the homeschool list. Because by law, everybody is supposed to register through the ESD to homeschool.
Right.
And we know it doesn't help.
Right.
And so we have done some reach out, and some of the comments have been, I don't know, Sarah, you talked.
Yeah, some have to do with staffing. I think oftentimes people have their own trauma when it comes to public schools and what they think public schools are. So that plays a lot, and a lot of people just feel it's the right choice for them, you know, like Christine said, you know, it's a personal choice. So going and trying to pull them back in like we're selling shoes or something is not necessarily going to work. Personally, I think our better scope is to go back to the teachers, figure out how we can make them excited about teaching. And the more you are excited about the subject you're teaching, the more likely students are going to grasp on and want to learn. And that may be by having teachers visit Ashbrook or other schools or other facilities to come up with ideas or along those lines. But I think what oftentimes, yeah, homeschool, I mean, there are those students that are out there, but it's not just here. I lived in Philomath. I had a beautiful homeschool family that lived next door for years. Amazing kids. And I can't imagine them putting them back in public school. What they're doing is working well for their family.
Well,
Yeah,
and
but the challenge is,
Well, and I think too, one of the big issues, I think especially in a rural, and this is not the only place I was. If I live, let's say closer to the mountain, and I work in Philomath, I'm going to take my kid with me. You know, like,
unless there's a reason not to.
well, I don't disagree with you.
Right.
However, in most cases, if I'm gonna take little ones, if I live, so in my previous district, our boundary went 6 miles south of there. In order to get to the elementary school, it was 22 miles this way. I saw a lot of parents who took their kids, not every parent, but a lot of parents took their kids with them to Bandon, especially in kindergarten and first grade. Now, when they get to third grade, do you now pull your kid out of that school because from their friend group to put them to the school they should be? Or do I keep them there? So some of it also is just geography.
Well, and I
So-
think in our community, it was also past trauma. So I think as we're paving forward, we need to keep burying what the past was. And as we build that trust and the excitement for learning and continue to press forward, I think we'll naturally build the trust of some of those families that are the hesitant families, not the ones that are
Right.
firm in they're wanting to homeschool.
Yeah.
They're on the fence because of some reason. I think that trust will be built, so our focus should be on the communication with the community and our staff engagement.
And to get back to the strategic part of
Yeah.
it, right? So we have,
Good, someone's getting there.
well, we have, there are clubs or groups in our community of adults, right? Like gardening club, there's book clubs, there's, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. I see it on our LC Friends and Family page all the time. It'd be a great way, like, I know a lot of, especially the littles, and I'm sure some of our bigs love like that gardening aspect, getting in the dirt, doing that, inviting potentially those groups to come in.
It's that community really.
Yeah, so like build
love
that, and then to build off of what Sarah said and what Russ said, with utilizing our staff's talents, like we have an amazing art teacher. We have tried to do different programs, and they were building backdrops, and they had, but I never saw that
Come to fruition.
yeah, come like full through. Like it was all up there. They were building like these big, great backdrops. They had houses and like a whole town. But nothing ever came of it. And so like they did all this work, see nothing happen. And I had my own children that were part of that, and they were like, I don't know what happened, Mom. So it's like, so just to like build on
Here's
that.
a little tidbit. If I were a kid being homeschooled right now, and I wanted an experience that I couldn't get at home, I would want to find that to drive me to go to a school. Are we offering that? This is the question, right? I can tell you my wife and I were like blown away at Ashbrook. Like we were like feeling guilty about having our kids here. But we can't afford to put them there, right? How do we foster that same experience when parents come here to visit and they're like, oh my God, why would I go anywhere else? The problem with public education is it has a stigma that we're only teaching kids what they have to know, not what they want to know, right? I sat on the plane in first class a long time ago with a guy from Apple, and he said the whole reason the iPad was developed to put in a desk at a school so it could be fixed in there and would have all the access to textbooks and learning material for a kid in the moment, in the second, but it never happened. Why didn't it happen? Because the teachers unions and the book publishers and Scholastic, all these people said, no, we don't want that because we want to still print textbooks. What we're missing is our children are leaping ahead every moment of the day. And as a school, we're struggling to get the funding to just buy textbooks, right? We have to provide this exceptional learning experience that's beyond the book. And it's the environment. And it's not undoable. It's so easy because I'm telling you, with a simple little koi pond in the middle of the front foyer of Ashbrook, we were blown away.
Yeah.
Because my 2-year-old could reach down and touch a fish. How stupid is that, right? It's not educating him, but it's the philosophy of education that we're more than just a book, right? We're an experience. That's all it has to be. It just has to be an experience. And the experience itself, if we could get rid of OSBA, believe me, I would love to, not your job. It's a lot of money wasted on bullshit. Sorry, but it is true. Because we're not putting that money into educating our kids in a way that makes them passionate about learning.
So then I think to go back, I hear you.
Right,
I
good.
think to go back
Cut me
is
off.
then what do we do? What is the strategic plan? Again, how do we, is it communication? Is
Well,
it,
everything
you know,
stems to
It's communication about a building of learning in a brand. I hate to say
We're
this,
not
I sell for a living.
Get there.
Not
until you
this
have
year.
happy staff.
Right,
You're not gonna
right.
get there.
But the
until
staff
you have
has to
happy
buy into the
students
brand.
and the
The
happy
staff-
community.
The staff has to be like, what are we about?
Bring us back to the
Yeah.
process here.
Right.
What
Go
we're
ahead.
doing is identifying priority areas. And you've been talking about the three that we've seen. One is recruitment and retention of staff.
Right.
The other one is recruitment and retention of students. And the third is communication, both internally and externally. Are there other strengths, priorities that came up in the survey that need to be carried
I didn't see the
forward?
beginning, but I can tell you this. If a teacher stays for 20 years, people love that teacher.
Mhm.
If a teacher stays for 10 years, they love that teacher. If teacher's here for 2 years, they don't know that teacher, right? Retention of quality staff, not retention of staff, retention of quality staff drive excellence in education. Retention of a superintendent, which we've talked about in our meetings, right? She may move on when she achieves her goals, but the problem is it's like a pastor of a big church. Oh, God called me to a different place. And then everyone feels misled. We put a lot of trust in Krista because she knows her job. She does it well. She's good with a lot of things. But the problem is, if and when she moves on, she has to leave a legacy to be followed. Not someone who wants to come in and implement change, right? Like the biggest catastrophe is we've had 3 superintendents in like 4 years, right? Every single one of them had a different agenda. The interim one was just to like cut and make things happy, right? He didn't give a crap about Elsie in the long run. If Krista leaves in a couple of years, which is her right, we have to have her build a system that's followed by the next superintendent, right?
That's what we're doing.
Right.
now.
And so the goal is staff retention, right? If she builds into them, does the educational training, teaches them better concepts to help our kids and they stay, then our kids have like, oh my God, I want that first grade teacher my sister had or my brother had 4 years ago, right? They live up to it, right? Go ahead.
To answer your staff support and culture is really just gonna help with retention.
Right.
If we're sort of
Absolutely.
like-
Right.
To answer your question specifically, those three, I think the other thing we need to try to focus on is more opportunities for our students
True.
to expand
Programs.
their knowledge and learning.
That are not sports
I think
based or
that-
education based.
Those
Yeah.
Right,
four
that
only
aren't sports.
encompass all the major areas.
It was one of the pain points that Ron
Like
was
foreign
surfacing.
language, like arts, things that, okay, I realized in a moment, it was a flash of a moment that when I went to school with a kid, like I graduated class of 400, and I thought about all the extracurriculars we had, there was some place for everyone to fit. And in today's climate where people are so different and they want a place to fit, if you only have athletics, it's not enough, right? If you only have choir, it's not enough. If you only have orchestra, it's not enough. Right? We don't have any of them. We have a little bit of athletics. But what I mean is, these kids, like, I have friends in Corvallis that tried for years to get their kids in a charter school, middle school, because the middle school sucked, and they finally got them in. And now they're like, we'll see if it works. It's not good there either, right? The public schools in Corvallis and Philomath aren't that great.
They're struggling.
How do we get this as a charter school to give something more than what those can offer, but without the money? And this is the challenge,
Well, and
right?
I
We don't
think
have the money.
The way we can harness that the best and our uniqueness in our Alcee school community is that it does feel like family.
It does.
And that's something that over the hills in the larger districts, you absolutely do not get. You know, most every student probably knows that you guys know their name.
Yeah.
You know their parents,
Right.
you know their coaches, you know their pastor, their youth group kids. That is so unique here, and that's what I think we should capitalize on.
I think I 100% agree with that, Jamie. I always go back to Maslow's, like, when you think about the hierarchy of needs, kids can't learn if they're not feeling safe, right?
Right.
We know that. If their needs aren't met, they're not learning. It's the same for teachers, I think, too. If their needs are not being met, they are also not going to be performing at their very best. And so I think we have a really good sense of family, and we need to build on that as a school family for
And the
for
family,
staff.
listen, I'm gonna share this. My kids who were in the Portland School District 3 years ago, right? Drastic difference. They feel family here. They feel safe.
Good.
They feel unjudged. They feel not forced to do drugs. They feel not forced to have sex. They feel a lot of things, right? I will tell you this, listening as a school board member to the dialogue with staff, if the staff don't feel that way,
Right.
the kids are not gonna feel that way in a couple of years, right?
Sure.
There has to
It
stop
trickles.
being this judgment of, well, Krista's not my best friend. She's your boss.
Mhm.
You're not your assistant's best friend. You're her boss,
Mhm.
right? We have to learn that the common goal is the kids and let all this garbage that encumbers adult minds, like, does she really like me? Is she going to get rid of me? No, she's not going to get rid of you if you do your job. I told Krista in a meeting we had a few months ago, I had a position of leadership and I told these people, and how would we have been best friends? And they were like, no, probably not. I go, then why as your leader do you think I should be your best friend? I should just be the best leader I can be. And then if I set the tone that Krista, I'm as a school board member, I will tell you, I believe she's doing a phenomenal job as a superintendent, right? I think she meets all the metrics of an incredible superintendent. Does that mean she meets all the metrics of a boss for every person in this small school district? No.
No,
Right.
we're all so
Yeah.
diverse.
I mean, no, there's no way.
Way too diverse.
Right.
yeah.
Right? But if she's doing her job exceptionally over here and adequately here, does that mean we should disparage her? No.
No, there's
What
room
we
for
should
growth.
do is
Yeah.
build camaraderie as a
Mhm.
team where if I can build her up in this place, because she's doing exceptionally here, then I'm going to help her do exceptionally here. And as you do that, you're going to see your students do the same thing because they're going to build an allegiance to the staff who is about the success of the entity. It's what we all do. We all want to be part of something great. No one wants to be part of something that's falling down.
I want to turn to online and see if there are any priorities that came out in the data that you think we should carry forward that haven't already been said. So retention of staff, retention of students, communication, and then diversification or bringing in programming.
I want to say accountability is one that we definitely need to put in that strategic plan. It's accountability for our students, it's accountability for the staff, it's accountability for parents, maybe even it's accountability for the community. Those aren't always the same buckets, and I don't think they should be the same like criteria or metrics, but I do think that consistent and standard accountability is what also leads to that culture that we all know that we have the same, like as a staff member, we know we have these same things we have to do. As students, we know we have the same things we have to do. And unfortunately, or not, there's positive and negative consequences in that accountability process.
Well, we could maybe design in the plan what accountability looks like under each one of those.
Yeah,
That's kind of.
yeah, we're just collecting
Right.
ideas that we want to take
Yeah.
forward.
I
with
mean,
us.
students get a failing or passing grade or an exceptional grade, but do the staff, right? Like, this is the question.
Well, we have
All that.
the review. We have reviews. So
No, hasn't, it didn't happen really.
Yeah.
I just
right,
want
it did not.
anybody else online?
The entire time.
I've got a hand up in the room.
Oh, Joe, I saw you.
Go, Joe. Come on, Joe.
Well, I didn't put my hand up.
Oh.
But you had a great idea.
We can see the mute icons.
Well,
Yeah,
so
no.
so
Good.
based on the times when I've been a part of these district and school-wide strategic planning pieces, what we're talking about, I feel like priorities are our umbrella. And then what we have to do is create these action plans underneath this umbrella. And there's a lot of pieces to communication. You know, we all communicate on a daily basis, but sometimes our day gets going and then we miss out. You know, I forget to call a parent or I forget to do something because something else took precedent. But I don't think that there's a lack of not prioritizing different aspects that we're talking about in the school. It's just a matter of us having like sort of a plan and picking 2 or 3 really strong priorities. And then that's what we work on. And we still have to do the other things, but those things are the things that we're going to really focus as a collective on and, you know, try and improve those things. They're all valid points and, you know, all that stuff, but really putting those plans together. And then, you know, that action that we're going to take to really, okay, we're going to work on our communication and how are we going to do it? And these are all the little pieces that we all can do collectively to make that happen. Right. So I just look forward to that piece where we can start putting those action plans into place and coming up with that, you know, as a group. Because I think that, yes, we do have some challenges, but again, we're all working really hard with these kids. These kids, we know them by name. We hug them every day. You know, we high five them in the hallways. I mean, you know, we put like Band-Aids on their, you know, foreheads, you know, we do all those things, you know, but I mean, but in the short term, when we're doing those things, yeah, sometimes, oh shoot, I forgot to update my calendar. You know what I mean? But that's what I hear about. So I'm really looking forward to, and I feel like the biggest piece for me is just getting those action plans into place. But I really appreciate all the data tonight and you sharing with us and all the ideas that we've talked about tonight. It's been a good session.
I missed some of the data, but Joe, let me say one thing. As a parent of 3 kids in this school, what I value is a small student to teacher ratio. What I'm missing is the high communication from the small student to teacher ratio. If a teacher has 12 kids in her class or his class, then the communication should be 30% greater than if they had 36 kids in their class, right? I think if we're going to value the small ratio, the parents need to get on the other side. Because I can count on one hand how many calls I've had from a parent or from a teacher this year to a parent of 3 kids, right? Less than 2, less than 1. So the idea is if we want to put ourselves up there as something different, then we as well as a school board and as leadership have to help our teachers understand that the opposite reaction of that is for the teachers and staff to have the ability to say, hey, I'm calling you because we have a small ratio of students to staff, and we want to tell you we have a challenge here. And not be afraid of that conversation, because that's really what parents want. That's what we want. Not to be a number, but for our kids to be identified as this person, this situation, and help us communicate with you. So for me, as a parent, taking my school board hat off, it's to get the next level of education out of this small district, it's to have that bilateral communication between the staff and the parents.
Well, and I think, you know, and I'm gonna go, we talk a lot about budgets. And yes, our budgets are smaller. But we also have to think, what can we do within the budget? And that might mean we spend our money different. That's where I think the strategic priorities come in.
Right.
Yep.
Because if we're talking about communication, how do we spend our money and our money wisely to do it? If we're talking about hiring or retaining staff, how do we do that? That might mean we spend it differently. That might mean things are gonna look different. And I think that's one of the pieces as we build the priorities. We have to remember the plans might come in the fact that if we're retaining and hiring quality staff. I like that you said
Right.
that, because I was actually having a conversation with Joe today where I once did quantity over quality and it did not work out well
Right.
for me.
No.
But that might mean that we're spending our money in different,
Absolutely.
and that will look different.
Yeah.
But so I just wanted to point that out, because everybody says we don't have money, we do have. Money. We are just gonna have to spend it differently.
Has to be allocated differently.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Heather, well,
go ahead,
well,
Jamie.
Well, I just had a remark. It's like we want to get community involvement and some of the community members here. The one thing that keeps being brought up that I hear about is the fact that we no longer have a Christmas program with the elementary children. We no longer have a spring program. And that's talking about the arts. That brought in a lot of community members that had grandchildren. What the gyms were filled. But that doesn't cost a lot of money. Why don't we have that? That's a piece of drawing the community in. They are lacking that, and so that's where some of the mistrust comes in, because they don't want to engage because things have been shut down. So
And I think, to go to your point, I don't disagree with you on that. But then that goes to, how do we spend our money?
Right.
Because really, programs come with music. We don't
Not-
have a music. We have these other things. How do we spend
That's-
our money? I don't, and you can also do.
Well,
elementary.
but I will say this, as a charter school, we have some leniency about who we use to teach, right? And maybe we need to be more creative about getting a music teacher or an arts teacher in a part-time, even a volunteer basis that can just add value to the school. But what you're saying is true.
But
We're
we
in a-
have somebody here. We have somebody that used to put on the spring program and the Christmas program.
Well, I haven't been here that
So-
long, but I believe you.
Yes, because we don't. But
Okay,
Anyway,
so.
right.
And we're running out of time, so
Yes.
Heather's been patiently waiting online. So Heather, I'm gonna turn to you and I'm gonna give you the final word.
I'm going to
And
be
then
very quick.
the
I'm going to be
next
very
steps.
quick. We have a huge potential. So Elsie is a small community. Our Learn at Home students and their families are all over Oregon. We have a huge potential to have an incredibly big community of people that know each other. Let's get the kids together, for the online kids, doing things with the in-person kids. We can do that through technology. We can bring families together. We have children all over the state who are wearing proudly their Elsie shirts. So I'm looking forward to this work and seeing what our potential is that doesn't cost a lot of money, but will bring community together. Because I think that this is what kind of an overwhelming theme that I'm hearing is bringing community together, bringing it to life. And we have an entire community online that is really excited about that. And then when I talk to the kids in brick and mortar, when I go and visit, I tell them about the kids online and they're like, we want to meet them. And so let's do that too. I'm very excited about this. Well, you know me, I'm always very excited, but I am very excited about this. I'll say.
Okay, thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
And I just have to say, there's a huge amount of passion in this room. And that, I mean, this conversation that I've barely been able to facilitate at all has really been emblematic. You guys are showing up for the right reason. You care a lot about your kids and about education. So clearly, we were supposed to start the portrait of a graduate process. We're not going to do that. I let go of that like 25 minutes ago.
When I showed up.
No. No. So, I mean, I just want to give you a sneak preview of what we're going to do. One of the things I wanted to get done tonight is get people together and get you familiar and get you talking. Didn't have to worry about that. So that's great. So when we come back, we'll do a process around portrait of graduate. I'm going to restructure it because there was some warm-up exercise in the beginning of it. Clearly, we've done that already, and I think everybody's familiar with each other. But we'll dig right into that and start fleshing that out. Hopefully, in a single session, we can get it done. Another thing that we'll want to do is look at some data and do some situational analysis around where is the district, where are our kids, and really couple it with this community input data and your lived experience and knowledge and expertise. Put that all together, and then we will start cranking out those priorities that Joe was talking about. You know, I love his eagerness. It's like, let's get to priorities because I know that then I can get to my operational plan. But I need to know what are those key things that we need to do to really move the needle for our kids. And so once we're done with that portrait of a graduate, which really is your vision statement of what your kids should be when they leave this school, you know, whether it's here, brick and mortar, or online, should they be showing up in the world? That's kind of your vision statement. Then we'll go right into those priorities and knock those out. Okay. So we'll be meeting again, hopefully in February or no. Yeah, February.
So Vince, would you like at the next board meeting for them to set a date, or do you want me just to set it?
I mean, we can set a date together. Yeah, we can do it offline.
Okay.
One question is that can we have everybody here?
Sure.
The
I
only
mean-
one I think would
I
be able to
promise.
do that would be Heather. She lives in Medford.
Okay, so that is a tough lift.
Come on, Heather, you can drive up.
No, we don't.
Drive back.
Alaska Airlines, Medford to Ukraine.
Hey, I like the idea of the Alaska Airlines. No. Okay, so it
Yeah,
depends
the
on
rest
when
of
the
them will
timing is. It depends on when the timing is, but yeah, I would be look into that for sure.
It would be amazing if you could do that, but so yeah, having everybody here because we're going to be doing group work. And so we'll all be breaking up into small groups. We'll be creating a lot of information fairly quickly. So if we can have everybody here, that would be really helpful. But this was amazing. Great work, everybody. I think we got good information out of the survey. We processed it really well. We've identified a few key things that we want to take forward. So we're in exactly the place that we need to be to take our next steps. So we will meet again in February. We'll let we'll see what flight Heather can grab.
I'd like to close the statement. Thank you, staff, for coming.
Right.
We don't get a lot of attendance at our board meetings, and so I value your time to be here and help us make the decisions that are right for you and for our students. So thank you for your time, and thank you for
I
letting
would-
my kid like your own.
I would also like to say, like, you know, if we don't understand in the world of education, which I don't work in, but I serve in, the value of your loyalty, dedication, commitment to our kids, then we're missing something. I didn't hire Krista, but I came in shortly after she was hired. And the one thing I can tell you from a school board member is her value is placed on her dedication to the education of our kids, right? You may not always understand it, you may not always agree, but I can tell you honestly, as a parent and a school board member, I know that's the case. All I want from my kids is that the staff and the teachers have the same value. None of us are perfect. We'll all learn and grow as we go. But the goal is that we put those kids first and then we all win. So thank you.
I'd also like to discuss this whole, you're talking about leaving after you reach your goals.
not gonna
I would like
Okay.
to.
We'll give her a raise.
At- Hold on, at this point,
You
I'm
don't
gonna,
need to train another superintendent.
hold on. I'm yielding back to the chair, Soren, you go ahead.
Goodbye. I will send out an email and the board.
Good night.
Night.
Thank you.
Good night, thank you.
Good night.
Krista, are we still discussing the evaluation stuff tonight or no? Because I can't hear you guys. It's on mute.
All together. Did Russ sneak out?
Probably his drink is gone.
No, that was not mine. Sometimes I feel like this is.
Yeah, I will structure our video sessions a lot more. So we won't have open-ended, it was fine to have an open-ended conversation because it kind of needs to happen anyway.
I think that shows that we really value what they have to say. We need to talk about evaluation and Rastine's online waiting for us.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, just real quick.
What do you want?
Can we do that though? Because I have a quorum. Do I need one of them to leave?
Yeah, technically.
Okay, I can go.
Sorry.
I can go.
Sorry, Jamie.
No, you're fine.
Go.
Just tell me what I need to do. You bossing me around.
Sorry, I can't, I'm not allowed to break the law, and that would be willfully breaking the law. Yeah, that's right. We're talking about superintendent evaluation. That's fun. Cool. Yeah, boy, Russ.
Yeah, it's.
And he badmouthed me. Oh, what was that?
I do not know
He's
where
an
Russ
extreme
went.
right.
Wow. We need to get rid of him here. Like, whoa, time out, buddy. Peace and love. Hey.
Oh, no.
No, don't.
Christine, are you still there? Should I call her?
Yeah, you can put her on a conference call.
Cause I didn't end the meeting. I mean, it's just still rolling along, waiting for.
And Lord, this was perfect.
Okay, good.
Let's do that again and make sure everybody's, yeah, and bring the folks that are in the back, bring them up and.
But don't do it as a Zoom meeting. Is that your suggestion?
Or we can go fully virtual, but it's sort of thanks for this.
I think. going
Hey,
virtual.
Rastine, sorry,
I can do it all virtual.
So Krista and Vince were under the impression that you were going to participate in this discussion of superintendent evaluation.
Yeah. If it's bad weather or something like that, then we can move it to online. But
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
think doing virtual.
Oh, okay, because she has walked under it, but we can just do this on the speakerphone if you want. Okay, I don't know where Krista just went. Like Vince and I are standing around wondering,
The Zoom thing,
but we'll just do it on the phone.
Yes, they're on speaker.
Okay.
Where did Krista go?
Krista's going to the bathroom. I don't know where Russ
Okay.
went.
Krista is going to the restroom. Should I call you back in a moment when everybody's here? All right. Talk to you in a bit.
Lay this up here. As no